Thank you, Chetan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Regarding the regulatory and policy proposals, I think most of them have already been covered by us. So I will just touch base upon a few of them. So from corporate on labor laws, there has been proposal to amend the insolvency code to have a transparent cross-border insolvency process. So currently, the insolvency code does not have a transparent process for having a cross-border insolvency. So that has been proposed. So the details are not yet out. So we'll have to see that what exactly we will be having in such amendments. The second important announcement was to have a accelerated process for voluntary liquidation of the companies. Currently, the voluntary liquidation takes around 2 to 3 years time. So they want to reduce this time to 6 months. And immediately on the date of budget, that is on 1st February, the insolvency board has already issued a discussion paper and on the revised process for voluntary liquidation of the companies, and that is based on the insolvency board's website, and it is open for comments until 22nd Feb. So I think they are really taking up a pace here to accelerate this entire process. Also, some of the highlights of the changes is that they have actually reduced the timelines which are already there in the current provision, so that the entire timelines will be reduced. Then coming up to the next, some labor law proposals. These there has been a measures to revamp the national skill qualification framework. This is again, we have industry demand that the skilled persons, skilled laborers are required, especially for manufacturing sector. So we can see that if the measures are taken, then it will boost the skilled laborers supply to the manufacturing industry. Then again, important development is to have startups can use drone as a service. So I think this is a major announcement. Then again, animation and visual effects, which is gaining a momentum. Especially the youths are getting attracted towards all these things. So again, there will be a promotion task force to set up the recommended ways to build a capacity for having this animation and gaming platforms. Next slide, please. Then coming on to the environment laws and climate change, I think as already explained by my colleague Anand Khetan regarding the PLI product linked incentives for a solar scheme. So they are now, as you see, that they really want to achieve certain targets and accelerated targets. So again, there is an additional subsidy which has been allocated for this PLI. Then moving to EV policies and EV, the battery swapping policy is again a welcome change, considering the constraint of space we will have once we have EV vehicles. So the policy is not yet out, but let's see what are the contents of such policy. Then we can there are other projects which are like coal gasification and conversion to industrial chemicals. So again, these are the important steps which are taken, for climate change and environmental laws. Next slide, please. Then there are other announcements which have been made. So like GIFT City, you can, foreign universities and institutions are now allowed to offer courses in financial management, fintech, and technology, and they can open institutions in the GIFT City. Then an arbitration center which will be set up in the GIFT City for a dispute under international jurisprudence. So this is again a welcome change, and parties maybe won't have to move out of India to settle international disputes. Then, as you know, that PE and VC investments are fast approaching Indian startups and Indian companies, but there are certain conflicts which has been faced by PE, VC in the regulatory and the legal matters. So an expert committee will be set up to examine these aspects and then to suggest an appropriate measures. Then a digital rupee, which has already been spoken by the earlier speakers. This is a welcome change, and we see a major economic reform. Again, as explained by our Honorable Finance Minister, that this digital rupee will not be a typical cryptocurrency, and it will be a different than the digital assets. So it is really interesting to see that what exactly we will have in this digital rupee. Then the next two changes are very important from ease of doing business point of view. That the states will be encouraged to adopt a unique land parcel identification number for tracking the land record. So this is a very welcome change, and as all of us know that since we are from manufacturing industry, that how difficult it is to get the land documents and to have its validity. So this is again a welcome change. Then again, one nation, one registration software, again to have a uniform process by linking it to National Generic Document Registration System. Again, it is very welcome change. Apart from this, they have also mentioned that all these documents will be available in the Schedule 8 languages. So this is again a very welcome change, because you know, currently the land documents are maintained in the vernacular languages in each state, and it is very difficult for someone from the other state to read those documents. So you always need a help of some local lawyers or local persons to read those documents. So if these documents are translated in the other languages, then other people can also read them, and actually this will enable the ease of doing business. Then next is MSMEs. Again, the focus of this government is always on the MSMEs and how to protect the MSMEs. And so again, since COVID, the major impacted industries were MSMEs, and hence again an emergency credit line scheme has been extended until March 2023. Then the last is the e-passports again. So this will again help us to get on the global, e-passports. This will help us to get on the global level, and yes, again, model infrastructure, what has been promised by our finance minister. So we can just see how all these things will pan out in the course of time. So I think that's it from my side. I hand it over to Mr. Nath for the question and answer session.
Yeah, thank you. I think thanks to Anand, Chetan, and Sumitra, I think we had some very detailed and interesting deliberation and presentation. I would just request the others also, please switch on your cameras, Anand and Chetan, then we can take some few questions. I hope Anand and Chetan, can you just switch on your cameras?
It's already on.
Yeah. Yes, right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it was a very interesting and a good, as Anand had mentioned in the beginning, there were a lot of changes, maybe little minute changes which required a description. But I think the team from Rödl Partner has really summed it up or put it together quite well. We are running a little short of time, but we'll just quickly take a couple of questions. So let me come to one question that had interesting question that had come now. Anand, we saw that there are a lot of changes in the custom duty rates taking place. Now this has been happening, very frequent changes. How does one actually, can one keep a track of these various changes that are happening? And I think especially this time, the changes that have been proposed will have a much broader or a wider impact. So what would be your suggestion, Nath?
Yeah, so a very, very important point, Mr. Nath. I mean, in terms of when we look at the Customs Act, as I said, the focus of the government is to use this legislation to, improve the overall manufacturing system. I mean, to promote manufacturing in India, and at the same time, they're also basically cleaning up the whole system to make it easier for the companies to, ascertain what is the effective rate of duty. So when we look at the changes since the last 3-4 years and majorly on this year, what they have done is, they want to say that concessions and exemptions would not be available. So if you are importing finished goods in India, we don't want to give you exemptions. There were historically, India had given lower rates of customs duties or exemptions to capital goods, to project imports, to specific items and commodities which were not manufactured in India, and you had to import them. Now government says that, okay, we want to promote manufacturing, so finished goods, you will not get any exemption. You pay the peak rate of customs duty, but only when you import raw materials, etc., we give you those exemptions, which also we want to sort of, phase it out over the next 3 to 4 years. The same thing we can also see in income tax, where they want people to adopt the new income tax regime of not claiming exemptions. So in this year, the major item which has happened is the cleaning up, which is to shift the entries from all these plethora of exemption notifications back into tariff. They have also done away with more than 40 exemption notifications, which were either not, which had lost their utility. But at the same time, when they bring in schemes like phased manufacturing, or when they reduce the exemptions on capital goods, for example, this reduction in this capital good change, Chapter 84, where companies were really enjoying lower customs duty rate when they're importing capital goods in India. The idea is very clear that they have targeted those capital goods where they feel that India has the capacity to manufacture in India. So they are saying better to procure locally from India, and at least if you are importing, we don't want to give you any specific benefits or exemptions. So those industries which continue to rely heavily on the import side, they continue to enjoy the exemptions. So the others is most likely to shift to local procurements and localization. That is where the whole idea is. But when you look at tracking as a system, it's really difficult. I mean, it's a maze. You have the tariff, you have the notifications, and when the government releases notifications, it is not altogether a new notification which comes into your hands. What comes into your hands is the changes which are happening in the old notification. It is very difficult to connect the new change with what was there earlier and what is there now, because the changes are very, very minute. So there is no clear-cut way of tracking them. Only way is to through books or through consultants who will be able to help you out. But it's a tough time. I mean, at least for the next 2-3 years, I think till the time they are not able to standardize everything, it's going to be slightly difficult for companies to really track it. Another important thing which happened was that India moved to this HSN 2022, which is the WTO had released the new HSN classification at the beginning of the year. So India adopted that also. And this classification was bringing new products, for example, robotics. These products were not there in the earlier tariff. So these products now had to be brought in the customs tariff, so that when you are importing these goods, you are able to classify them and pay duties correctly. So all these changes happening together has sort of created a problem that it's very difficult to track it. But maybe 2-3 years down the line, things will standardize more.
Thank you, Anand. Let me come to Chetan. Chetan, there was this concessional tax rate of 15% will be levied Another question is for how long, for how many years? The person has asked, will it be for this concessional tax would be 3 years or 5 years? They want a little clarity on that.
Right. Yeah, fine. I think there were two concessional tax rates side by side, and probably that would have created a confusion. One is in respect of manufacturing companies, new manufacturing companies, where the tax rate is 15%. So there is no time threshold. So it will continue to be 15% unless until there is a change of law. So if there is no change of law, this 15% tax rate will continue. The only thing that you have to satisfy the conditions that are there specified. Now, second bullet on the same side was regarding startups. So for startups, they have given 100% deduction of profit. So whatever profit you earn, that will be fully not taxable for 3 consecutive years out of 10 years. So you choose within 10 years from the date of setup, which 3 years you want the tax to be not applied. And for those 3 years, you will be eligible. So that remark for 3 years was for startup and not for the manufacturing company that are eligible for 15% tax.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
Sumitra, one question regarding the digital money now. What are the other virtual assets other than cryptocurrency and NFTs?
Okay, so actually they have given a very detailed definition in the Finance Act that what are the virtual assets and the other than the cryptocurrencies. So right now there is no such clarity on that, but we'll come to know because it is a very generic definition which they have given, which includes everything, plus the decision has been left to the government to include certain currencies or to exclude certain currencies from the virtual currencies. So the time will tell us that what is included and what is not.
Yeah. Anand, one or maybe to all three speakers, the term trust-based government has been used. Maybe just a little clarity. What exactly are we meaning by that trust-based governments? If maybe Anand, you could say a quick word on that.
How you say it?
I couldn't get your question, Mr. Nath. Can you please repeat?
This is that I said the term trust-based government. So what exactly are we meaning by that, Anand?
Mr. Nath, I mean, this trust-based is basically, you can look at historically what used to happen. Earlier, in excise regime, for example, there was an excise officer who was sitting in your factory premises, and you were not allowed to remove your material from the factory without getting a signature of the excise officer. So it was in customs, where there was a physical examination of all these shipments which used to come into India, and they moved into self-assessment in 2012. The trust-based system is where the government says that we want to shift completely on self-assessment. We believe and we rely on what the taxpayer is stating, and we would believe that whatever you are stating in your returns, you would rely on the trust that we have on the taxpayer that they will not be, they are not doing any hanky-panky, and therefore they are going into this digital system wherein whatever you declare will be deemed to be true unless and until audits or in any other investigations they are found to be not true. So whether it is indirect taxes, whether it is direct taxes, you can see direct taxes also, the new returns coming in, online system coming in. On the regulated side, you can see all these websites being interconnected, everything online. This is a system of trust-based administration where they would rely on our declarations. But in case you make wrong declarations, the penalties and the prosecutions provisions are being made more and more harsher. So they want to say that if you are good, you are doing things correctly, you are fine. But in case we catch you, then you are doing it.
Right. So I think it's a good sign in a way. The onus comes back on to some extent on the people or on the taxpayers then.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, true.
Maybe the last question I'll just ask all our three speakers. Maybe I'll start with you, Chetan. There was a lot of expectations from the budget. We also know that the state elections are coming up in a few states. So if you were to give an overall rating from 1 to 10, Chetan, What would you rate? How would you rate the budget?
Well, I know like some popular expectations have not been met, which I think a lot of people or all people would have expected. And there is a lot of, I think we can see memes on WhatsApp and wherever and that are available. But I would still rate, I think, between 8 to 9, because somewhere I think the thrust has been, and even going back to even Atmanirbhar,
Which
I
means
think the thrust has been to create the opportunities to generate income rather than just to give some freebie and try to say that, okay, now I have given you a freebie, so you become a dependent. So I think it's always better to have an economy where everybody is working, generating income, and economy is growing, rather than somebody gets something free and then there is no productivity. So I would still rate it as a good budget. Yeah.
Very good. Right. Sumitra, what about you? Where would you also be?
Yeah, so I think I will rate again from 8 to 9 because if you see the approach of the government or the target sectors which our government is targeting for investment and everything. So those are their vision is clear in terms of what they want and being a long-term budget. So it's always not a short-term thinking; it's always a long-term thinking, which is the government is propelling. So in all, I would always rate from 8 to 9, between 8 to 9.
Anand, coming to you, your colleagues have both rated the budget quite high. Maybe to
Absolutely.
a 9 out of 10, I hardly used to get in school also. Right? So how would you rate the budget?
I firmly, say it's not even 8 to 9. It's more than 9 for me actually, because and see, there's also a comment in the chat section where someone said that the input costs have increased, the prices have not increased because of that. We are into losses, and how can capital expenditure help us as compared to revenue expenditure? It's a very clear economic policy. When the government spends does revenue expenditure, the benefit that goes back is the same amount. So if you spend 1 rupee as revenue expenditure, the benefit to the economy is 1 rupee. But when you spend 1 rupee as capital expenditure, the benefit to the economy is 2.5 rupees or even more. So I think they've got their maths correct. They have not made any unreasonable claims on disinvestment targets, and they have kept their collection targets also low. So I think it's a very, very clear path that they want to go. They know now what is clicking. Growth is what they want to focus on, creating demand, creating jobs, and only when you do capital expenditure, these growth and demand and jobs will be created. So they have that formula right, I think, and therefore I rate it very high because it is more towards economic development rather than giving freebies, because freebies don't help. For freebies, you can, this is always next year. We have a union budget, which or the general elections coming in 2024, and I think a populist budget is sort of expected in 2024 for from the government to sort of make everyone happy. This is the time where they should focus more on economy and capital spending, and we all can wait for another 2 years to increase our take homes.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. And maybe, Anand, I'll now request you to maybe just conclude with a short statement from your side.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Nath. Thank you, VDMA, for organizing this session, a very, very interesting session with us. I thank all the participants who joined and who stayed back, till now. Rödl Partner, with its multidisciplinary teams and multi-locations in all major cities, is always there to help you in any of your requirements, and we will continue to engage with you, help you, assist you in whatever ways you require, and we'll keep on organizing such sessions, especially with VDMA, our most important channel partners. So I thank again, and I hope all of you stay safe and healthy. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anand, and thank you, Chetan and Sumitra. And thanks to all our participants. In fact, we had a very large number of participants today. So really, thanks to all our participants for joining this session. And many stayed with us till the end. And just for the information of the participants, in case you found this web seminar useful and informative for you, we have another one coming up at 3:30 in the afternoon. So you could inform your friends or other colleagues who could be interested in it, please, in case you're interested, just send us a short email on rajoy.sengupta@vdmaindia.org. So if any of you want your other colleagues to attend, please utilize this opportunity. We have the same competent partners, Rödl Partner, who will be joining us again at 3:30. So thank you. Stay safe, everyone, and let us hope that the budget would help to push our economy and the growth that we are all looking forward. Thank you. Thank you all to all the speakers.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to Rohit also, who gave the keynote address. Thank you. Stay well, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.